My dears, before I begin I need you to sit close. Because what I'm about to tell you, it didn't just break my heart. It rearranged it. I still hear that door slamming. I still feel the cold night pressing against my spine. And every time I close my eyes I relive the same moment. The moment my own son looked me in the eyes, trembling, sweating, avoiding his guilt, and told me I wasn't welcome on the night my granddaughter took her first breath. Not because I had done something wrong. Not because I wasn't family. But because someone else told him I shouldn't be there. And the worst part? He obeyed. Let me begin where everything fell apart. That evening the sky was bruised purple, thunder crawling behind the clouds like something alive. I was sitting in my living room, the only light a flickering candle on the table. It always flickered that way, like it was warning me. My phone buzzed. It was my son, Daniel. His voice was shaky. Mom, it's time. We're going to the hospital. But, listen, maybe you shouldn't come just yet. My fingers froze. A cold rush spread through my chest. Why, honey? I whispered. This is my grandbaby. Of course I'll come. But the silence on the other end felt heavier than thunder. Finally he said, Mom. She said she only wants family there. His wife who had never liked me. His wife who always watched me with narrow eyes, as if she was decoding me. His wife who once whispered something to Daniel the moment I entered a room. Whispers that always changed his face. I swallowed hard. Daniel, I am family. I know, Mom. I know. His voice cracked. But please just wait at home. I'll call you. But he didn't call. Hours passed. The clock ticked like footsteps inside my house. Rain tapped at the window in a frantic rhythm. My candle burned lower and lower, that weak flame fighting the dark. And all I could think was, why doesn't my own son want me there? What has she told him? When midnight came and the storm thickened, something inside me, some ancient mother's instinct, pushed me to go anyway. I grabbed my coat, old but warm, and stepped outside. Rain soaked me instantly. The streetlights flickered like dying stars. Every shadow looked like it was leaning toward me. But I kept walking. I reached the hospital's glass doors. The hallway inside smelled of disinfectant and secrets. I found Daniel pacing outside the maternity ward. His head snapped up when he saw me. Mom, what are you doing here? His voice wasn't angry. It was scared, as if he was afraid of me seeing something. Before I could answer, she appeared behind him. Emily. Her hair was messy from labor, but her eyes, oh, those cold, sharp eyes were fully awake. Why is she here? She whispered. Not to Daniel. To him, like he was her soldier. Daniel swallowed. Mom, please just go home. We'll call you later. The words punched the air out of me. But I came all the way here in the storm. My voice shook. I want to see my grandbaby. Emily stepped forward, her voice low but cutting like glass. You can't. I stared. Why not? She didn't blink. She doesn't need your energy. Energy. As if I was poison. Emily, Daniel whispered, tugging her arm. Don't. She stays out. Emily hissed it. A command. Daniel froze. Just froze like a shadow without its body. Then, he stepped between me and the door. Like he was blocking a stranger. Mom, please. Just go. I felt my heart drop like it had been tied to a stone. I am your mother, I said, barely breathing. And this is my grandchild. His jaw clenched. He didn't meet my eyes. I'm sorry, Mom. That was it. That was all. I stood there, drenched in hospital light, rainwater dripping from my coat onto the white tiles. I could hear the faint cry of a newborn down the hall. My grandbaby. My blood. And I wasn't allowed near. Something inside me cracked. Quietly, like a thin old floorboard splitting under weight. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just final. I turned and walked away slowly, feeling the burn of Emily's eyes on my back. But as I reached the elevator, I heard something. A whisper. Faint. Urgent. Behind me. Mom. Daniel had followed me. He grabbed my hand. Don't leave yet, he whispered. There's something I need to tell you. He glanced over his shoulder, fear in his eyes. But not here. My breath caught. What is it, Daniel? He squeezed my hand. Something's wrong, Mom. Really wrong. And I don't know what to do. My heart began hammering. What do you mean? He looked around again, terrified. Emily. She's been acting strange for weeks. Saying things. Doing things. And tonight I saw something I can't explain. My blood ran cold. What did you see, Daniel? He opened his mouth. But suddenly Emily appeared at the far end of the hall. Daniel. Her voice sliced through the corridor. He jolted, stepping back like a scolded child. He whispered, "Meet me tomorrow. At the old house. Noon. Please." And then he hurried to her, leaving me alone again. I pressed my back to the cold wall, breathing hard. The old house. Noon. Something wrong. Something he saw. What had she done? What was she hiding? The hospital lights flickered above me. For a moment I felt as if someone else was watching me. Someone standing just behind the corner. A shadow that wasn't a shadow. My hands trembled. And that was the night. The night everything began to unravel. Let me ask you something. If you were in my place that night, would you have walked away from that hospital? Or would you have gone inside to uncover the truth? Tell me in the comments. I genuinely want to know what you would have done. And if this story is pulling you in so far, please like, share, and subscribe. It helps more than you can imagine. My loves, I barely slept that night. Every time I shut my eyes, I saw Daniel's face again, pale, trembling, terrified. Not the fear a man feels during a storm, but the fear of someone living in a house full of secrets. I kept replaying his whisper. Meet me tomorrow. At the old house. Noon. The old house. The place where Daniel grew up. Where the floors still creaked with memories. Where the walls still held my late husband's voice. Why there? Why not somewhere public, somewhere safe? I didn't know the answer. But deep down I felt a tremor in my bones. A warning older than any thunderstorm. Something was coming. Something I wasn't ready for. The next morning the sky was unnervingly still. Like the world was holding its breath. I made myself a cup of tea, but my hand shook so badly I spilled half of it. The old clock in my kitchen ticked louder than usual, as if urging me to go. By 11:30, I was already standing outside the old house. I hadn't been here in years. The paint was peeling. The porch sagged like it had aged 50 years overnight. Cobwebs clung to the corners like they were guarding something. The front door creaked open with the same tired groan I remembered. Inside, the air smelled of dust, and something else. Something metallic. Something cold. The living room was exactly as we left it. My husband's armchair, the old lamp with its cracked shade, the family photo still hanging crooked on the wall. But there was a strange stillness, as if the house was listening. I stepped deeper in. Daniel. My voice echoed too loud for the silence around me. No answer. I walked toward the staircase, my hand brushing the banister. It felt colder than what should ever feel. Daniel, honey, are you here? I called again. Then a sound. A soft thump. Stairs. I froze. Another sound. Footsteps. Slow. Heavy. Deliberate. My heart slammed against my ribs. Daniel. I whispered. But the footsteps stopped. The entire house seemed to hold its breath. For a moment, I wondered if I was making a mistake. If coming alone had been foolish. Emily. I didn't want to say her name inside these walls. It felt like inviting a shadow to step closer. Suddenly my phone buzzed in my pocket. I jumped. A message. From Daniel. My hands trembled as I opened it. Mom, don't go inside the house. Please. Stay outside until I get there. My stomach dropped. Don't go inside? But I was inside. I typed quickly. Daniel, I'm already in. Where are you? What's happening? 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Then his reply came through. Mom, get out. Right now. She knows you're there. My throat tightened. She? Emily? How would she even know? I looked toward the staircase again. Cold dread crawled up my spine. I typed back. Daniel, what is she doing? What's going on? No response. I slowly backed away from the stairs, careful not to make a sound. The wooden floor groaned under my feet, loud in the silence. Then, a creak. Not from me. From upstairs. Followed by a whisper. A woman's voice. Soft. Calm. Wrong. Is that you? Mom. My blood ran cold. It wasn't Daniel. It wasn't my imagination. and it wasn't friendly. Mom! The voice came again, sweet in a way that made my skin crawl. Come upstairs. I want to show you something. I didn't move. Not even a breath. That wasn't Emily's normal voice. It was too controlled. Too rehearsed. As if she were practicing sounding gentle. I took one step backward. Another step. Then, my phone buzzed again. Daniel. Mom, she left the hospital. She's not supposed to know where you are. Don't listen to her. Get out. My pulse spiked so hard I felt it in my ears. I turned toward the door. It was wide open when I came in. Now, it was almost shut. Just a sliver of light remained. I moved quickly. Faster than my old knees liked, but fear gave me strength I hadn't had in years. Behind me, footsteps rushed down the stairs. Fast. Too fast. Mom! The voice again, closer, sharper. Come back. We're family. I didn't look. I pushed through the door with all my strength. The sunlight outside hit me like a rescue. I slammed the door shut behind me and stumbled off the porch, breathing hard. But something stopped me cold. A black car was parked across the street. I hadn't noticed it earlier. And someone was sitting inside. Someone watching. My phone buzzed again. Daniel. Mom, are you outside? Answer me. I typed with shaking fingers. Yes. I'm out. But someone's here. His reply came instantly. Who? I stared at the car. The windows were tinted, but I could see just enough. A silhouette. A woman. Long hair. Motionless. Watching me. As if waiting for something. I don't know, I typed. She's in the car. Before Daniel could reply, the car's engine roared to life. It backed up slowly, never breaking eye contact. Then sped off down the street. I felt a chill run through me. Whoever she was, she knew I saw her. And she didn't care. Moments later, Daniel's car screeched to a stop in front of the house. He jumped out, hair a mess, chest heaving. Mom! Are you okay? He gasped, pulling me into his arms. I clutched his sleeve, my voice breaking. Daniel, what's happening? What did you see? What is she doing? He looked over his shoulder at the empty street. Then he looked back at me. And the fear in his eyes was no longer something he could hide. Mom, he whispered, you don't understand. Emily isn't acting like Emily anymore. She's saying things she shouldn't know. Doing things she shouldn't be able to do. My heart pounded. What do you mean, honey? He swallowed hard. Last night, in the delivery room, I saw her do something impossible. A cold shiver traveled through my entire body. Impossible. He wasn't exaggerating. I could feel it. My son was shaking. The house behind us seemed to hum with tension. And the air felt watched. I held his hands tight. Daniel, what did she do? He lifted his eyes to mine. And his voice trembled. Mom. She knew something about the baby that nobody told her. Something the doctors hadn't even discovered yet. I stared at him, breath caught midair. What did she know? I whispered. He opened his mouth. And then, a voice called out from behind us. A woman's voice. Calm. Soft. Too familiar. I can tell you if you'd like. Daniel turned pale. I turned too slowly. And standing at the edge of the yard, raincoat dripping, hair plastered to her face, was Emily. But her smile. Oh God. Her smile wasn't human. My loves, I've lived through storms, funerals, betrayals, but nothing prepared me for the way Emily looked at us that day. She stood at the edge of the yard, soaked in rain, her hair dripping down her cheeks like black ink. But it wasn't her appearance that froze my bones. It was her smile. It was too wide, too steady, too calm for a woman who'd just given birth hours before. Daniel grabbed my arm. Mom, he whispered. Don't move. Emily tilted her head, her smile growing in a slow, unnatural arc, like she was practicing being human and hadn't quite figured out the rhythm. You two ran off so quickly, she said softly. I didn't get a chance to talk. Her voice was light, melodic, but the tone was wrong. It felt like she was speaking through herself, not as herself. Emily, Daniel said, stepping in front of me. Why are you here? You're supposed to be at the hospital. Oh, Daniel. She laughed. And that laugh, I swear it didn't belong in a human throat. It was hollow like someone tapping on the inside of a metal can. I told you, she said. I know things now. I don't need the hospital. Her eyes shifted to me. Hi, Mom. My stomach twisted. Emily had never called me Mom. Not even once. She always said Margaret, sharp, distant, careful. But this wasn't closeness. This felt like a violation. I forced my voice steady. What do you want, Emily? Her smile finally faltered just a little, and something dark flickered across her face. I want to talk about the baby, she said. Daniel tensed. No, he snapped. Not here. Not like this. But she ignored him. You should have been at the hospital, she told me. You should have seen her. She looks familiar. A chill crawled down my spine. What does that mean? I whispered. Emily stepped closer. Each step slow. Measuring. Your granddaughter has your eyes, she said. But something else too. Daniel pulled me behind him. Emily, stop. She looked at him with a strange sort of pity. Daniel. Why are you so scared of me? Because you're not acting like yourself, he shot back. You're saying things that don't make sense. Emily blinked once. Slow. Almost mechanical. Don't make sense. She smiled again. Oh, honey. I'm the only one making sense now. My chest tightened. Something about her. The way she breathed, the way she stood, the way she watched us like a parent watches children misbehave. It wasn't right. Emily suddenly leaned her head slightly, like she was listening to something far away. You know what's funny? She murmured. Last night, during labor, I heard something. Daniel stiffened. He hadn't told me this part yet. Heard what? I asked. Her eyes locked onto mine. A voice, she said. It whispered to me. It told me things I wasn't supposed to know. The air around us seemed to thicken. What kind of things? Daniel asked, his voice barely steady. Emily lifted a hand, tracing circles in the air like she was drawing invisible shapes. Secrets, she said. About this family. About the baby. About the old house. Her fingers paused. And about you, Margaret. My breath caught. Daniel stepped forward. Emily, stop it. Just stop. But she kept talking, her tone almost dreamy. The voice told me something incredible, she whispered. That my daughter wasn't born alone. Daniel's face drained of color. What? He breathed. Emily's eyes gleamed with something sharp and dangerous. There was something else in the room, she said. Something no one else could see. Something that touched me. Something that stayed. A cold gust blew across the yard, rustling the wet grass. I felt it. A presence. Faint. Heavy. Watching. Emily inhaled deeply, like she was smelling the air around her. Do you feel it, Margaret? She whispered. Do you feel her still with me? Her. She said her. Daniel grabbed my hand. We're leaving. Right now. But Emily stepped forward again too quickly. The movement wasn't natural. Not fluid like a person. It was sharp like a puppet jerked by a string. Don't walk away, she said softly. You need to hear the rest. We're done, Daniel said, pulling me toward the car. Emily's face twitched. Just a flicker. But enough to show something was breaking beneath her act. That's not very nice, she murmured. Her voice dropped. Lower, flatter, unfamiliar. Not after everything I did. Daniel stopped. He turned slowly. What do you mean what you did? Emily smiled again. I kept the baby safe. Her eyes narrowed. From the thing that followed her out. My heart stopped. Followed her out from where? I whispered. Emily leaned her head to the side. An eerie tilt like a doll whose neck joint had loosened. From wherever babies come from before they meet us, she said sweetly. From the dark place where things wait. Daniel shook his head, terrified. Emily, listen to yourself. But she interrupted. You want to know how I knew something the doctors didn't? Her smile stretched. I knew the baby wasn't breathing before they did. My body went numb. Daniel's breath hitched. That's impossible. She was crying when they took her. No, Emily whispered. She wasn't. Not at first. A tear rolled down her cheek, but her smile stayed frozen. She came out quiet. Too quiet. And then I felt it. That cold hand on my shoulder. She shivered. And the voice said, Do you want her to live? I can help. Daniel stepped back, horror dawning on his face. Emily, what did you do? She looked at him with a strange mix of sadness and pride. I said yes. I covered my mouth, choking on air. Emily whispered. And now something else came with her. Something that wants Margaret. My knees buckled. Daniel grabbed me before I fell. Emily watched us, her face softening. Don't worry, she said. It's not here to hurt you. Her smile widened to an impossible stretch. It just wants what you owe it. My voice cracked. What do I owe? Emily stepped closer. Her eyes were no longer her eyes. They looked deeper, like something else was staring through them. You promised something years ago, she whispered. And it's come to collect. My heart thundered. I never promised anything, I said. Emily nodded slowly. You did. Her voice was almost gentle now. 28 years ago. In this house. With a candle burning. Her smile sharpened. You don't remember. But it remembers you. I froze. I did light a candle that night. A night I've avoided remembering for decades. Emily stepped back into the misting rain. It's patient, she whispered. It's been waiting. And now that the baby is here, you can't run anymore. Daniel pulled me toward the car, panic in his eyes. We're leaving now. But before we reached the door, a sharp cry pierced the air. A baby's cry. Coming from nowhere. From everywhere. From the house behind us. I turned in horror. Emily's lips curled. See, she whispered. She's calling for you. My loves. I have heard many kinds of cries in my lifetime. Newborn cries, scared child cries, grief cries. But the sound that echoed from the old house that moment, it wasn't a baby's cry. It was thinner, sharper, too cold, like metal scraping across glass, wrapped inside the pitch of an infant. Daniel froze mid-step. His hand tightened painfully around my wrist. That's not her, he whispered. I knew it too. My granddaughter was miles away in a hospital bassinet. No human child could make a sound that hollow. The cry rose again. Longer this time, sliding upward into a pitch that made my bones tremble. Emily stood in the rain, her head tilted back slightly, eyes fluttering closed as if she were listening to a lullaby. Don't you hear it, Margaret? She murmured. She's calling for you. Daniel shook his head violently. Emily, our baby is not here. You're sick. You need help. Emily opened her eyes. And for the briefest moment they weren't her eyes. They looked glazed, reflective, like a second face was staring through hers. She followed you, Emily whispered. To this house. Where the promise was made. A cold sting cracked through my heart. I never made a promise, I said shakily. Not one that involved whatever this is. Emily smiled gently, like I was a child misunderstanding something simple. Oh, Margaret, you did. You asked for something. And something answered. The wind shifted abruptly, carrying damp leaves across the yard. Daniel pulled me backwards toward the car. Mom, get in. Now. But the moment he opened the door, the cry came again. This time from the back seat. Daniel slammed the door shut instantly, breathing hard. What the hell was that? He whispered, panic shaking every word. I didn't answer. I couldn't. Because every instinct in my old trembling body told me the same thing. Whatever was crying didn't want Daniel. It wanted me. Emily's voice floated through the cold air. You can't protect her forever, Daniel. She looked at me. Let her come inside. Just for a moment. She needs to remember. Daniel snapped. No. You stay away from her. But Emily didn't seem to hear him. Her eyes stayed locked on mine, unblinking, almost pleading. You do remember, don't you? She whispered. That night? The candle? The whisper near the crib. My lungs tightened painfully. A whisper near the crib. A candle. A night I buried deep inside myself. No, I didn't want to remember it. I shook my head. Emily sighed softly. Then come, she said, stepping backwards toward the house. I'll show you. Daniel roared. Emily, stop. But she slipped back through the open front door with unnatural ease, disappearing into the shadows beyond. Then, silence. Except, a faint rhythmic sound from inside. Not footsteps. Something else. Like nails dragging slowly across wood. Daniel grabbed my shoulders. Mom, listen to me. You are not going in that house. I looked at him. My son. Grown, shaking, terrified. And still the little boy who used to crawl onto my lap when thunderstorms got too loud. Daniel, I whispered. Something is happening that we can't outrun. No, he said firmly. We're going to the police. Right now. But even as he said it, even as his voice strained with desperation, we both knew deep down, no police officer in this world could help with whatever was inside that house. Daniel turned to unlock the car. And that's when the porch light flicked on by itself. A slow buzzing flickering glow. The house was calling. I closed my eyes for a moment. My heart felt too loud in my chest. My breath too thin. I have to end this, I whispered. Daniel spun around. No. No, Mom, don't even say that. She won't stop, honey. She won't stop until I face whatever this is. His voice broke. I almost lost you once. I'm not letting that happen again. My eyes softened. Daniel, you didn't almost lose me. You did lose me. That night. 28 years ago. A tear rolled down my cheek. Something happened in this house. And I never told you. He stared at me as if I'd slapped him. What? Mom. What are you talking about? But before I could speak, before I could finally tell him the truth, the front door creaked open again. And Emily's voice floated out, softer than a breath. Margaret, she's waiting. Daniel grabbed my hand so hard it hurt. Mom. Please. Don't go. I squeezed his hand back. Oh, my sweet boy. I'm sorry. And then, I pulled away. I walked toward the house. Every step felt like walking into a memory I had spent my entire life trying to forget. The porch boards groaned under me. The warm flickering light cast long shadows across the floor, twisting and stretching with every movement. When I reached the doorway, the air changed. Thick, cold, charged. I stepped inside. The smell hit me instantly. Candle wax, old dust, and something else. Something chemical. Something metallic. The door shut behind me on its own. I didn't turn. I didn't scream. I just whispered. I remember. The house seemed to exhale. A long, satisfied breath. A soft laugh echoed from upstairs. Not Emily's. Higher. Too high. Like a small girl giggling in a dark hallway. My heart slammed against my ribs. A child. A child's voice. But it wasn't my granddaughter. And it wasn't any child I ever knew. I forced myself toward the stairs. Each step creaked beneath me. Slow, deliberate, like the house was waking up under my feet. At the top of the staircase, a dim light flickered under the door of Daniel's old bedroom. The same room where... No. I swallowed hard. I reached the door. My hand hovered over the knob. The giggle came again. Right behind the door. And then... a whisper. Soft. Close. Margaret, you left me. My knees buckled. No, I whispered, tears blurring my vision. No, I never. Yes, the voice said. You promised you'd come back. You promised you'd choose me. A cold hand brushed the back of my neck. I gasped. The door slowly creaked open on its own. Inside, candlelight flickered gently, casting shadows that swayed like figures waiting in the dark. And in the center of the room, a tiny wooden cradle, rocking, on its own. The same cradle I burned 28 years ago. The same one that should not exist. I stepped inside, and a soft voice whispered, Hello again. Mama. Baby, when I tell you that I froze in the middle of that hallway, I really mean it. I wasn't standing in a house anymore. I was standing inside a memory I had spent years trying to bury. The air felt tight, almost alive, like the walls were pulling in a long, slow breath, and then releasing it. I tucked the diary under my arm and stepped back, because something about that house felt wrong. More wrong than anything I'd ever felt before. You know how sometimes your instincts scream louder than your thoughts? That's what happened. My heart was thumping so hard I could hear it in my ears. Tommy was still asleep in the guest room downstairs, thank God. Because what I was about to face, no child should witness that. I walked toward the kitchen, following that faint whisper I'd heard earlier. That strange breathy sound that seemed to come from behind the walls. And when I stepped inside the kitchen, everything around me shifted. The dim light above flickered, then steadied, casting shadows on the floor. Shadows that didn't match anything in the room. One of them looked like a person standing behind me. I spun around. Nothing. Just silence. That eerie, heavy silence I remembered from the night the police knocked on our door years ago to tell me about Lily's accident. I didn't know it yet, but that memory was about to become a lot more complicated. The kitchen door creaked open a little, like someone had touched it gently, or pushed it with their fingertips. I swallowed. "Who's there?" I whispered. No one answered. But the temperature dropped so fast the hairs on my arms stood straight up. I wasn't imagining this. Something, or someone wanted me to hear something. I took a deep breath and listened. And there it was again. That faint, almost suffocating whisper. A word this time. Stay. My knees nearly buckled. Not because it felt ghostly, but because the voice sounded familiar. Not perfectly clear, but familiar enough to hit me somewhere deep in my chest. I reached for the counter to steady myself. My hands were trembling so badly I could barely grip the edge. Was it my imagination? A trick of memory? A trauma resurfacing? Or was there a part of this house that remembered me? I opened the diary again, flipping through the pages with shaky fingers until I found something near the back. A part one hadn't seen before because it was stuck together from water damage. Once I pried those pages open, I saw a short entry written in a different handwriting. Messier. Rushed. Uneven. It wasn't Lily's. It was my son's. And it was dated 2 nights before the accident. She says she needs to tell Mom the truth. She's scared. She thinks they're watching her. I told her Mom wouldn't believe something like that. But now I'm not so sure. She hasn't been herself. She keeps saying someone is in the walls. Someone is listening. My spine turned to ice. Someone in the walls? I stepped back, staring at the diary as if it could burn me. My son had known? He had known Lily was afraid? He had known she wanted to tell me something? Why didn't he? Why did he let me cry myself to sleep thinking it was just a tragic accident? A wave of betrayal washed over me so strong I had to grip the counter with both hands. And underneath all that hurt, something else simmered. Anger. Real anger, the kind you feel in your bones. I closed the diary gently, like it was a wounded animal, and placed it on the table. Then, I heard a soft thud from upstairs. Not a creak. Not a shift in the wood. A thud. Footstep. I looked toward the ceiling. Then toward the staircase. My breath hitched. Someone wasn't just in the walls. Someone was in the house. I grabbed the nearest thing I could use as protection. A fireplace poker leaning against the kitchen doorway, and held it tight. My hands were shaking, but my feet moved on their own. I climbed the stairs slowly, one step at a time. The old wood groaned under me, echoing through the hallway. At the top, everything was drowning in shadows. Only the moonlight pushed through the curtains, creating long streaks over the floorboards. Tommy's room was at the far end, still and quiet, but the sound came from the room next to it. My son's old room. I pressed my ear against the door. Silence. Then the faint scratch of something shifting inside. Like fabric brushing against wood. I pushed the door open an inch. Dark. I pushed it open farther, and the smell hit me first. Dust, old wood, and something sharp. Like cold metal. When my eyes adjusted, I saw boxes stacked against the far wall. New boxes. Unlabeled. Recently moved. But the scratching sound was coming from the left, from behind the closet door. I lifted the poker. My heart felt like it would burst through my ribs. Who's in there? I whispered, and even I didn't recognize my own voice. No reply. I took one slow step, then another, until I was standing right in front of the closet. The air felt thick, heavy, like something on the other side was listening to my breathing. I placed one hand on the doorknob. Cold. Ice cold. I twisted it slowly. The door creaked open. Inside was nothing. Just dust. Empty hangers. Shadows. My lungs deflated all at once. I took a step back, lowering the poker. But then, a voice whispered right behind my ear. Don't look down. I froze. Every muscle in my body locked. Because the whisper was Lily's. I hadn't heard her voice in years, but a mother never forgets. Very slowly, trembling, I lowered my gaze to the floor. And that's when I saw it. A tiny square in the floorboards. A panel. A hidden wooden trapdoor slightly open. Just enough for someone to slide a finger through. My stomach dropped. The whisper came again. Soft. Urgent. Almost crying. Please don't open it yet. But I knew I had to. Because everything, the diary, the shadows, the missing pieces, was pointing to this one hidden place. Whatever secret broke my family, it was beneath that floor. I knelt down, placed my shaking fingers under the edge, and I lifted the panel. What I saw underneath, baby, it changed everything. Absolutely everything. Baby. When I lifted that small wooden panel, a chill rose from the darkness beneath it, like the house was exhaling secrets that had been rotting in its ribs for years. My fingers trembled so badly I almost dropped the lid, but I held on, forcing myself to look down. A narrow crawl space stretched under the floorboards, barely big enough for a grown man to slide through on his stomach. Dust floated in the air like pale ghosts, lit by the thin slice of moonlight that slipped into the opening. But what made my heartbeat rattle was the smell. Old metal. Wet cloth. Fear. I leaned closer, and that's when I saw it. A small crumpled piece of fabric. A scarf. Lily's scarf. The same deep blue scarf she wore the night she died. My throat tightened so fast it hurt. I reached in slowly, grabbing it with the tips of my fingers. The fabric was cold. Too cold for something that had been in a sealed space. Unless someone had touched it recently. I brought it to the light. There were fingerprints on it. Fresh ones. My breath shattered in my chest. Someone had been down there. Recently. I whispered. Lily, what happened to you? And right then the house shifted. Not physically. Not like an earthquake. But the air changed. Thickened. Darkened. The shadows in the corners seemed to pull back. Like they were holding their breath along with me. I heard her again. Her whisper. Soft. Close. Heartbreaking. Mom, don't trust him. My hand shook so hard the scarf slipped through my fingers and fell back into the crawl space. Don't trust who? I whispered. My own voice sounded like it came from somewhere far away. No answer. Just the long aching silence of someone who had tried to scream once, and never got the chance again. I forced myself to look deeper. Something else was in the dark. A metal box. Old. Rusted. Locked tight with a small latch. I reached down, grabbed the hot poker I had brought with me, and used it to pry open the box. The latch snapped with a small click that sounded too loud for the quiet around me. Inside, baby, my stomach twisted. There were photos. Stacks of them. All of Lily. Some were normal. Her smiling at the table, holding her belly when she was pregnant, playing with Tommy. But the deeper I went, the darker they got. Photos taken without her knowing. From behind doors. Through windows. Over her shoulder. Someone had been watching her. Following her. Inside this house. And then, at the bottom of the stack, there was one photo of her standing in this room. Her face looked terrified. Her eyes wide. Her mouth open like she was calling for help. And behind her, barely visible, a shadowy figure stood near the closet. Tall. Broad. Unmistakably human. My blood turned cold. That's when I found the last item in the box. A small folded note. I opened it with shaking hands. The handwriting wasn't Lily's. It was my son's. Mom. If anything happens to me, look beneath the floor. She wasn't imagining it. Someone was in the house. Someone is still here. My whole body began to shake. Someone is still here. I looked around the room so fast my neck cracked. The shadows in the corners felt deeper now. Darker somehow, like they were holding something back. Hiding something that didn't want to be seen. I stood up, clutching the metal box to my chest. That's when I heard it. A soft thump. From downstairs. Followed by a second sound. A door slowly closing. My breath hitched. Tommy. I ran from the room so fast the door slammed into the wall behind me. My feet flew down the hallway, the floorboards crying under my weight. I rushed down the stairs, gripping the railing with one hand and the box with the other. The living room was dark. Too dark. Tommy. I whispered, my voice cracking. No answer. Just the faintest rustle from the kitchen. I moved slowly, carefully, tiptoeing toward the doorway. Every muscle in my body trembled. I pushed the kitchen door open with one finger. And there he was. Tommy. Standing perfectly still near the table. His little eyes wide. His tiny chest rising and falling too fast. He looked up at me. And pointed behind me. Very slowly. I turned around. A man stood at the edge of the hallway. Not a stranger. Not a shadow. My son. Alive. But not the way I remembered him. His face was pale, hollowed. Eyes sunken, swollen with sleeplessness. His clothes dirty. His hair long and unwashed. Like he'd been hiding for days, weeks, maybe longer. He looked at me like I was a ghost. And in a voice so quiet it barely made it across the room, he whispered, "Mom, I told you not to open it." The metal box nearly slipped out of my hand. "Why are you here?" I asked, my breath shaking. "Why are you hiding?" He stepped forward, limping slightly. Something about the way he moved was wrong, like his body carried injuries I couldn't see. "I wasn't hiding from you," he whispered, glancing at Tommy. "I was hiding from him." I swallowed. "From who?" His eyes drifted toward the stairs. "The man who hurt Lily." My heart stopped. "He's still in the house." The lights flickered. A shadow moved across the wall behind him. A real shadow. Not imagination. Not memory. Person. Standing just out of sight. My son's voice broke almost into a sob. "Mom, he never left." "Baby." When I saw that shadow move across the wall, my heart nearly stopped. Every instinct in my body screamed to run, to grab Tommy and never look back. But something deep inside me, the part that has carried this family through storms, sickness, and betrayals, whispered, "You have to face this." I gripped the metal box tighter, my knuckles white, and stepped toward the figure. The air was thick, almost breathing with me. Every creak of the floorboard beneath my feet sounded like thunder. I could feel Tommy's tiny hand clutching my ankle, trembling, but he didn't scream. He knew somehow, he always knows. The shadow shifted again. Slowly, a tall man stepped into the light from the hallway. It wasn't a stranger. It was Daniel, but not the Daniel I knew. His eyes were darkened, his hands trembling, his lips quivering as if he hadn't spoken in days. His clothes were torn and damp, and there was a smell, wet earth, sweat, fear, clinging to him. "Mom," he whispered. I tried to stop it. I blinked, confused. "Stop what, Daniel? What is happening?" He swallowed, his throat tight. "The thing that followed Lily. The thing that waited for her child, it's real. And it never left this house. I didn't tell you before because I thought I could handle it. I thought I could protect you." My stomach twisted. "Protect me from what?" "Daniel, speak." He looked away toward the stairs. From him. From the man in the shadows. A cold draft ran through the room. Behind me the candle flickered violently. And I swear I saw it, a movement. A figure watching, crouched, too dark to see clearly. I stepped forward. "Daniel, who is it?" He shook his head. "You don't want to know." "Not yet. But it knows you remember." I felt my blood run cold. "Remember what?" "Daniel. I don't understand." He took a trembling breath. 28 years ago, that night with the candle, you made a promise." I froze. My hand gripped the box so hard I thought I'd break it. 28 years ago, the night, the cradle, the whisper. I had blocked it all out. I remembered fragments, a candle, a quiet voice, a soft plea. And something about Lily. "You promised to keep her safe," Daniel continued. "But you left. You left her. And she waited." Tears blurred my vision. I didn't know. I didn't know I could keep her safe like that. I was just a scared girl. Daniel stepped closer. "She never forgave you. She stayed in the shadows in this house, following every move. She wanted you to remember. She needed you to remember. And now the baby, your granddaughter, has awakened something in her." I dropped to my knees, clutching Tommy. "Oh God, my poor girl, my poor Lily." The shadow in the corner moved again. Taller this time. The air seemed to tighten around me, pressing down on my chest. I forced myself to look. And there she was. Emily. But not Emily. Not exactly. Something in her had changed. Her eyes glimmered with light that wasn't human. Her face smiled, soft and terrifying at the same time. And she held her hand out toward Tommy. "Margaret," she whispered, voice soft, melodic, and yet hollow. "She's the key." My stomach turned. "The key to what?" "The secret," Emily said. "The promise. The one you made but forgot. It is alive in her. And in you. And it's time to pay attention. Or everything dies." I stood, trembling. My knees weak, my heart pounding so hard I thought it would burst. I remember. I remember everything now. The cradle, the whispers, the candle, the promise to keep her safe. I remember hiding her. I remember leaving. And I remember thinking I had no choice. Emily's eyes softened slightly. Yes. And now the house, and she need closure. They've been waiting for you to face this, Margaret. You are the only one who can end it. Only you. Daniel grabbed my hand. Mom, be careful. If she's what she is, this house isn't safe. But you're the only one who can do it. You know the truth now. I took a deep breath. The air felt heavy, alive. The candlelight flickered across the walls. And for the first time in decades, I felt something in me, courage. Emily, I said, voice steady despite trembling. I remember. I kept her safe that night. I made a promise. And I am here to finish it. Right now. The room shifted. The shadows swirled almost like smoke. Emily's smile softened. Then let us finish it, Margaret. I stepped closer, holding Tommy close. I reached down to the metal box, the evidence of all these years, the photos, the diary, the whispers of the past. And I whispered softly, more to myself than anyone else, I am sorry, Lily. I am so sorry. Then the impossible happened. The shadow, Emily, stepped forward and merged with the light. Not violently. Not angrily. Calmly. And in that moment I understood. She wasn't here to hurt anyone. She wasn't evil. She had been trapped. Waiting for me to face the truth, to honor the promise I made so long ago. The room exhaled. The air grew warmer. The shadows faded. The crawl space felt lighter. And the cry I had heard, the unnatural cry that had pierced me, stopped. Emily looked at me with human eyes again. Tears glimmered on her cheeks. Thank you, Margaret. You remembered. Daniel pulled me into his arms. Mom, we're safe. We're really safe. I knelt, holding Tommy tightly. The candlelight flickered one last time. And then the house breathed. Not threateningly. Not hauntingly. But as if it had been holding its breath for 28 years. And now finally could exhale. I whispered to the empty corners, to the walls, to Lily, to the shadows that had lingered all these years. I remember. I remember everything. You are safe now. You can rest. The house was silent. Peaceful. And for the first time in decades, I felt free. Baby. That night I learned something I never thought I would. Secrets buried in silence, promises forgotten, and shadows that wait. They can haunt you forever. But when you face them, when you finally remember, you can bring light back. And my family, we survived. We survived because I remembered. And now we can finally live.